Taiwan is a model for the world in handling the COVID-19 virus. However, the island of 20 million people is not recognized by the World Health Organization, nor does it have a diplomatic relationship with most countries, including the United States, because Beijing has declared it as a part of China and has prevented any high-level diplomatic efforts with Taiwan. However, on March 28, a U.S. ambassador visited Taiwan, becoming the first U.S. ambassador to visit Taiwan in the past 40 years. And surprisingly, this time the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, gave a softer diplomatic response than it normally would have. President Triangle Whips of the Republic of Palau visited Taiwan on March 28 to start the travel bubble program between Taiwan and Palau. This program was to promote safe travel with fewer COVID-related restrictions and create a boon for tourism between the two countries. U.S. Ambassador John Hennessy Lalonde accompanied Palauan President Whips to Taiwan. While in Taiwan, Ambassador Hennessy Lalonde attended a national banquet that Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen hosted for President Whips.
I believe this is the first two-way travel corridor in the Indo-Pacific, and possibly in the world. It gives people the opportunity to travel safely again in the future.
At the joint news briefing with Taiwan's Foreign Minister Joseph Wu, he praised Taiwan and Palau in fighting COVID-19 effectively and creating the first safe travel program over the Pacific. Taiwan Foreign Minister Joseph Wu acknowledged the U.S. help to Taiwan and Palau.
The Taiwan-Palau travel bubble was made possible by a great deal of contribution from the U.S. behind the scenes. Our relationship with the U.S. and Palau has always been very close.
By having this corridor,
Palauan President Whips also expressed his gratitude to Ambassador Hennessy Lalonde for helping Palau to receive the first batch of COVID-19 vaccine in January. He credited his trip to the joint efforts by the three parties, Taiwan, Palau, and the United States, as both the U.S. and Taiwan provided much medical assistance to Palau to fight against the virus and make the travel bubble tourism program possible.
Lin
Tinghui, Deputy Secretary General of the Chinese Society of International Law, said, "This trip has raised the official connection level between the United States and Taiwan to ambassador level." In his view, the Taiwanese people's focus was not on the Palauan president's coming, but on the U.S. ambassador's coming. Of course, mainland China was unhappy. China's Foreign Affairs Minister spokesperson Zhao Lijian gave a soft response on March 29, saying, "The One China principle is a universally recognized norm in international relations, and a universal consensus that is shared, accepted, and practiced by the vast majority of countries in the world. We urge the United States side to fully recognize the high sensitivity of the Taiwan issue, adhere to the One China principle, stop official U.S.-Taiwan exchanges, refrain from trying to break through the bottom line of the Chinese side, and handle Taiwan-related issues carefully and appropriately so as not to seriously damage Sino-U.S. relations and peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait." Beijing also held a military exercise as a part of its response. Its first aircraft carrier, Liaoning, along with 5 escorting warships, passed through Miyako Strait near Japan on April 3rd. Then they sailed south and conducted drills in the waters of East Taiwan. On April 10, the CCP sent out another mild diplomatic signal. It held a ceremony for the 50th anniversary of the China-US ping-pong diplomacy in Shanghai. In 1971, China invited the U.S. ping-pong team to visit China, which thawed the U.S.-China relations and led to President Nixon's China visit in the following year. At the 50th anniversary celebration, China's ambassador Cui Jiankai expressed that China is willing to work with the U.S. to uphold the similar respect, friendship, and win-win spirits that are demonstrated in ping-pong competition. China also invited the United States Consul General in Shanghai, James Heller, to the ceremony and to give a speech. In the past, Beijing had taken much tougher reactions. A few months ago, in the Trump administration's last month, when the U.S. State Department planned to send Ambassador to the United Nations Kelly Craft to visit Taiwan on January 13, Beijing fought fiercely. The same Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson, Zhao Lijian, stated on January 11, "The Chinese people's determination to defend their sovereignty and territorial integrity is unwavering. We will never allow anyone or any force to block China's reunification process and use the Taiwan issue to interfere with China's internal affairs. Any action that undermines China's core interests will be resolutely countered by the Chinese side and will not succeed. The Taiwan issue has always been the most important and the most sensitive core issue in the US-China relations. The One China principle is the political foundation of US-China relations and a prerequisite for the establishment and development of diplomatic relations between the two sides. We advise Pompeo and his gang to recognize the historical trend, stop manipulating Taiwan-related issues, stop the perverse practice, and not to go further and further down the wrong and dangerous path. Otherwise, it will be severely punished by history. Eventually, Pompeo canceled Ambassador Kraft's trip. A Chinese website, Zhihu.com, claimed that China's most important and most sensitive core issue statement has stopped the United States' wrongdoing. It stated that when China threw those words, it shows that it has reached the limit of its tolerance. Given the China Foreign Ministry's clear attitude, the Biden's new administration had no choice but to pressure Pompeo. Under that pressure, Pompeo had no choice but to retreat. Objectively, Pompeo wimped out at the end. But in essence, it is the Biden administration who wimped out on this matter. This shows clearly that on the Taiwan issue, the United States is much inferior to China when it comes to the ultimate bottom line in this game. It also said that the plane carrying the U.S. Ambassador Kraft had taken off already, but it was stopped in the air. Her flight flew for 4 hours and then headed back. Beijing had an even stronger diplomatic response in December 2017 when the U.S. Congress passed the National Defense Authorization Act for the 2018 fiscal year. The bill required the U.S. government to evaluate the possibility of mutual visits by naval vessels between the U.S. and Taiwan. Li Keqiang, China's minister to the U.S., threatened that China would respond with military action to take over Taiwan if the U.S. sent its naval ships to Taiwan. He said, "I tell you, the day the U.S. warships arrive in Kaohsiung is the day that our People's Liberation Army will reunify Taiwan by force." Beijing had always showed strong reactions to stop any U.S. intention to improve the U.S.-Taiwan relations in the past, including the ambassador's blocked visit in January this year. But this time, why did the CCP soften its diplomatic response on the U.S. ambassador's visit to Taiwan? Was it trying to trade the Taiwan issue for some other thing? Did Beijing never really consider Taiwan as its core interest, but just pretended it was, to make a good bargaining chip? Or did it indeed take Taiwan as a core interest, but now needs to give it up to protect its more important core interest?